Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Don't know much about Jesse Sullivan. He's been running a lot of ads, including on our station. He's a candidate for governor, Republican, from downstate Illinois. He's a successful business guy and a nonprofit executive. His website, jessesullivan.com. Let's find out a little bit more about this candidate. Jesse Sullivan joins us now. Jesse, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, just, start with the basics. Why is Jesse Sullivan running for governor?
Yeah, well, I love the state of Illinois. I'm a fifth-generation Illinoisan, and I really want to raise my grandkids here. And I feel like our terrible, corrupt politicians are taking everything I love about this state and ruining it. I mean, we got ridiculous crime on the streets that nobody feels safe. We have this leftist ideology that's creeping into our schools. And then, just these ridiculously high taxes that are driving businesses out of the state. And I was doing this work, to try to create businesses to bring capitalism, to actually bring democracy and freedom, around the world. And I look back at my own home and I feel like it's under attack, those same exact values. And so after a lot of prayer with my wife, we said we need to step into this and we have to fix our home state that we love so much.
Well, before we get to taxes and all that, a lot of people don't like mask mandates, don't like the fact that our schools are still being shut down it's not remote learning, it's adaptive pause is what they're calling it. Where do you stand on that, and how do you think Governor Pritzker has handled the pandemic?
Oh, terribly. I'm a freedom-loving American and Illinoisan, and I reject mandates. I feel like it's harming our kids in schools. It's harming our business owners and workers. Our kids in schools, we just talk about, COVID and its potential risk on them. You know how many kids have died in Chicago from COVID over the past year? Exactly 0. Mm-hmm. And then you think about the negative harm and impact that it's doing on years of learning and growth that our kids are getting in the classroom. And then, just shutting down sports, you got to look at the risk and harm side on that side of the equation too. We're creating more harm than we are good through these mandates. And then as I go around the state, people on the borders, they say, you see over there, that's the land of the free in Iowa and Indiana. And it's not only those crushingly high taxes that are sending them across the border. They're saying, when am I going to get shut down again? Leadership is not lockdown. And that's the way that Governor Pritzker's approached this. And so I think it's un-American to be forcing these mandates on people.
Going back to what you were just saying, you were busy trying to spread freedom and democracy abroad. That's sort of a big statement. Put some meat on those bones. What exactly were you doing?
Yeah, so one of the biggest ways was I served over in Afghanistan. I was Department of Army civilian on the intelligence side, and I did a 7-month tour in Helmand, Afghanistan. And so I was out. My main job was these Afghan militia commanders that we were training up kept turning their weapons back on our guys. And so my job was to get to know these guys and figure out why they were doing it and what their motivation was, and advise the brigadier general on that situation. And, I look at the crime situation now back in our cities, and I think one of the biggest takeaways I've had from that work in Afghanistan is, you have to support our first responders that are risking their lives every single day on our behalf. And right now we've got a group of political, not leaders, I don't even want to call them leaders, that won't support our police. They're putting handcuffs on them rather than actually, giving them the power and authority to actually take down these violent criminals. And so that's some of the work. I was also doing this work on the nonprofit side that led into the business side that was about how do you bring capitalism and grow businesses, because handouts are not cutting it. That was my other big lesson learned in doing this in this work, is that if you're going to give a handout, then yes, necessary every once in a while to be able to help stop the bleeding, but really to get at the root cause of the problem, you're going to have to create jobs and grow the economy. And so that's some of the work I was doing around the world.
How would you describe your governing philosophy?
So Carl Sandburg, he talked about Abraham Lincoln. So I grew up a couple miles away from where Abraham Lincoln first moved into politics in central Illinois. And he used two words more than any other: freedom and responsibility. And I think, this notion, we were just talking about the freedom aspect of it. We have right now a monopoly system in the state of Illinois of Democrats that want to take away freedom, feel like they know best. And the other side to that is personal responsibility. We've lost that notion in our society. We need to get back to the notion that people have personal responsibility and they need to step up and take it, and rather than a lack of accountability, which is what we really have from the left right now. And so I would say the simplest way to describe my principles are freedom and personal responsibility.
John Cass coined this term many years ago about Illinois, the bipartisan combine. So, yes, it's Chicago Democrat socialists in charge intermittently with some Republican governors and even some Republican legislative leaders. But it's a bipartisan combine run by and for the political class. You're running to be the nominee of the Republican Party to face Pritzker. Describe the Illinois Republican Party, where you think it is and what you think needs to be done to make it more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of the reason I'm running is the overall corruption in this state. I'm a political outsider, and I think that's a really good thing. Conservative outsider to take on this corrupt system. And you know what? I faced it from both sides. It's not just the Democrats and Lori Lightfoot coming after me for my position on crime. It's also people who are scared on the Republican side, these political operative types, that they've built a system for themselves that they benefit from. And they know that I'm going to step into that system and I'm going to disrupt it. And I'm going to actually give power back to people of Illinois again. It's who's looking out for Illinois families. Being a father of a young family, I want to step in to look after them. And some people have asked me, do we need to run Illinois like a business? It's already being run like a business where all the profits are going to very few people, these career politicians and the special interests that they're serving. I don't want to serve any of those special interests. So I'm stepping into this, to take on that whole corrupt political system.
We've heard this value proposition before recently. It was Bruce Rauner's. And what it turned out to be was that, yes, he was a political neophyte. He was an outsider. He wasn't really an outsider. He'd been involved in politics a long time as a donor and in other ways, policy ways. But it turned out that, in my estimation, he was over his skis. He made massive tactical and strategic errors right out of the gate once he was elected. And he actually was rather too cozy with many of those combine members, including his friend Rahm Emanuel, then the mayor. And it didn't work out too well because when push came to shove, he got shoved around. Why, you're from in the finance world too, where he came from. Why is this going to be any different, particularly when your financiers, like his, are mostly amoral transactional types and not movement conservatives?
Yeah, well, I'll share with you about me and my background. My faith is the core driver of my entire life. And so I am so rooted in that faith notion of what is the right thing. I bend my knee to God alone, no man, no donor. Anyone who supported me, it's because they saw the high character, high competency leadership that I can bring. And I want to bring that into our politics. And I know we have this recent example in Illinois where people say, that didn't work. Well, I'm a very different person. I'm one of 8 kids. Downstate Illinois, I grew up working on a farm. I have that experience over in Afghanistan. I've been building businesses, not as a later stage private equity person who's going to rework things. And I'm finding entrepreneurs at very early stages like Shark Tank, where you identify who are the job creators of the future? How do we build the industries of the future here in Illinois? And so I'm a very different person. And the people of Illinois, as they get to know me and see me, I am a son of Illinois, and I'm going to restore moral leadership back to this state again.
And it's good you hired a Glenn Youngkin, senior campaign strategist. I'm sure that will help. But one thing our conservative listeners are up in arms about, and please just set the record straight about, when you were at St. Louis University, you founded a far-left magazine.
Yeah. Let me share. It's almost laughable because I feel like, or people in Illinois, these political operative types, they know they're scared because I'm not beholden to them. So I'm not a politician. I know that Illinois is corrupt and this den of vipers. And so, you know what? One of those high and mighty types of this political machine, they showed up at my door before I even decided to run. This political backroom dealing class, they wanted me to be a part of this. And I'm not here to line their pockets. And so, you know what? They decided they're going to come after me, and they're going to go and try to create all these lies. That's what they do. That's how these people work. And so they're going to keep at it. And you know what? Donald Trump, he didn't pay them off. He didn't bend his knee to the establishment, and I'm not going to either. And so I'm here to fight corruption, not to be a part of it. And I'll share with you what I was doing in college.
Wait, just before we get to that, who is the high and mighty type that showed up at your doorstep?
So all of this I'm going to share. It's all going to come out because we need sunshine and bleach on the whole system. And so I'm going to be sharing everything with everybody along the way.
Can you share with us now?
Well, who is it?
And I don't think you'll be surprised by it.
I'm sure I won't be, but I still want a name.
Well, I'm preparing it with my whole team, and we're going to share with the people of Illinois what this whole system is like.
All right. I want to get to St. Louis University and this paper you started, but I would just say this. And I'll take you at your word, and we'll see what happens. But if you're unwilling to name names, and this goes for anybody, if you're unwilling to name names, including within the Republican ranks, then that tells me it's going to be more of the same. That tells me this is
I will.
You promise? Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
I will.
We'll
So
wait.
tell.
I'm going to.
So tell us about One World Magazine at St. Louis University.
Yeah. So here's what I was doing at St. Louis University. I was working at campus ministry. I was traveling out to Washington, D.C. to go on Right to Life marches. And I created an organization and a magazine largely driven by my faith to focus on global poverty. So I can't tell you what the magazine has done since then and what articles they've published or haven't published, because I've been living my life since then past college. And so if they want to go, that's the most they can find to try to ruin my good name, is that they're going to say, oh, this magazine that he got started back when he was a college student has since then wrote articles where I have no oversight or control over what's said. And, you know, from what they're reporting, I would disagree with many of those articles, obviously. And so if that's the best they can do, it's pretty sad. And they see me as a threat to this system, and so that's why they're coming after me.
That's fair, but I want to be a little bit more clear on this then. So you didn't found this magazine as a social justice outlet. That's you did not.
Yeah. So I did not. So social justice, I listen to me on this with I say the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, and I talk about justice. And for me, this notion of justice for me was talking about people living in poverty and how we can use our faith to help them, that we have an obligation to remove obstacles to opportunity. And so that's what I've always meant in my life and how I've always tried to approach things. And
because
now,
I'm a Catholic too, and St. Louis University is a Jesuit school, and I don't know if you're Jesuit or not, but I went to Loyola for law school, so I know a little bit about the Jesuits, and their approach to education is, well, it's liberation theology. We now call it social justice, and that doesn't really square with conservatism.
Yeah, one of the big areas, I think I didn't grow up a politician or a political family. We were a sports family, so I knew more about what the Bears were up to than like any political stuff. I had to learn as a junior what a Republican and a Democrat actually was and what they believed in. And I can tell you that I was a little bit tricked and hoodwinked by the lies that it's actually the Democrats that care about people in poverty. I had to learn over time that, you know what, those policies don't actually lift people up out of poverty. They actually keep them in poverty, and they keep them dependent upon a system. And so for me, I think a lot of people in Illinois are still living out of that principle, that lie, that those Democrat policies and the people who really care about people living in policy.
There's no question about that.
It's about lifting people up out of poverty.
So then the
right way to do it.
So then did you have a conversion? I mean, did you start out, you were wooed by the rhetoric of the left and these social justice Jesuits, and then at some point over time or there was some epiphanal event that converted you?
Yeah, I would say mine was always a political journey. Because my faith has always been the core driver of my life, and it's been about how can I live a life of service to others in need. And so on that journey, I had to learn that political philosophy of what is the best way to actually serve. And I think if you look, it's you look at Donald Trump, you look at Ronald Reagan, and those who went through this journey of conversion, but those who had lived experience in these areas, that really they came to those conservative values and beliefs through those experiences, then, I mean, that was the one big area for me, is poverty and how do you solve it. Democrats signaled a lot that they cared, but then they didn't actually get results. And so for me, I care about results and outcomes for the people of Illinois. And so this belief in capitalism and hard work, and that's what I've been dedicating myself to for the last 6 years through Alter and backing these ventures, even in socialist countries like Cuba. And now I hate seeing it creep into Illinois, and I want to cut it off.
So where are you on overturning Roe v. Wade? Do you support it? And if it is overturned before the end of next June, and you're the governor come January of next year, January of 23, what are you going to do to fight the General Assembly against making Illinois an abortion tourist destination like California is preparing to do?
Yeah, this is one of the things is I've always been pro-life, like I said, driven through my faith. That's what I said even on my college time, heading out to these pro-life, right to life marches out in Washington, D.C. And so, my wife and I, we actually do foster care. And it's not because we don't have enough children in our home. We actually have four kids with a fifth on the way this month. And we did it because we feel like we want to live these values to the fullest. And so we really want moms who are having to face difficult life decisions to choose life. And I want to be the type of governor who's going to lead us in that direction.
So
and
that
I
means,
do think we need to
so,
recognize,
sorry to interrupt, but so overturn Roe v. Wade, yes or no?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in life. I am a pro-life person and candidate, and so I want to see that. And I also recognize in Illinois right now we have a supermajority of Democrats, along with J.B. Pritzker, that are going way, way, way far to the left to try to make us one of the most liberal states in the nation that doesn't reflect our Midwestern values. And so
Right.
The recent parental notification stuff and all that, all of my friends that might be on the pro-choice side, they're saying this is ridiculous. We've gone too far, and we need to get back towards sanity.
But I mean, look, what I think people like me want to hear is it's easy. It's not easy, but it's one thing to take positions. It's another thing to say I will put in the fight, and if that means losing friends or losing status in certain circles, I'm going to put in the fight for those things that I said I would fight for as a candidate. And that's, I think, what people want to know straight away, because we've been given the policy positions before, and the fight has never come.
And I understand it. I myself have been hurt by people who say, politicians, they say one thing and then they do another. I can tell you that, like I said before, my faith drives my entire life. And what that should reassure people in is that I want to go to heaven more than I want to be governor. I want to be a good husband and a good father.
Leave it right there.
That's
I'm sorry, we're up against the clock, but that's a close. I want to go to heaven more than I want to be governor. You should put that on your campaign material. Jesse Sullivan, jessesullivan.com is the website. Jesse, we appreciate you coming on. Look forward to talking to you as the campaign unfolds.
Yeah, thanks for the work you guys are doing. I really appreciate it. It's good to talk to you.
Yep, and have a happy holidays. Thanks, Jesse Sullivan. Join us on our turnkey.pro answer line. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Things we buy keep getting more expensive. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.